Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 54 of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. Tonight, we'll discuss Cloud9's wins and losses over the weekend, including CSGO's staggering defeat at ESL New York semifinals. Then we will discuss what is in store for Cloud9 at the World's Play-In Stage tournament, and maybe some other stuff. I'm your host, Havokpus, and today I'm joined by...
Frozencreek. I got a brand new phone, so that's how my weekend went. It's pretty exciting.
And of course, Trey, back again to provide some rants and extra commentary about how C9 is going to destroy this weekend.
I mean, that's basically this whole show. If you wanted to kind of put a blurb to kind of get the crux of what the show is, that's basically it. So, looking forward to it. All right, let's jump in, gentlemen. Let's get some pretty nice victories lined up for you. Rocket League had a 2-game special going on this weekend for the Rocket League CS. They played against Allegiance and FlyQuest, and they beat both of them in a pretty great fashion, 3-1 and 3-0 respectively. And I am wondering if Cloud9 Rocket League can even be stopped at this point. They rarely seem to lose, and even if they do lose, they make the other team really work for it. So I'm really questioning kind of where the ceiling is for this Rocket League team, and I hope it is non-existent.
Yeah, the way that Torment's been playing recently, like, it's amazing to watch him do anything, because you just see him bouncing, like, off walls, off ceilings, Squishy Muffins is going in, everybody is, like, playing super well on the team, and they just, like, they create such a great dynamic to where even if it looks like they're about to get scored on, they can immediately turn it around and have like a power play. So, I don't know. I think this team's looking amazing right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really loving how everyone plays off of each other. And I actually asked them about that because I was really curious, and they said it was just something that came naturally to them. So it's really great to see that always pay off. And I think the more they win, the more it just shows that this Rocket League investment definitely is something that's paying off. So keep up the good work, guys. Moving on to the Overwatch win. The Overwatch Contenders team played Gamers Origin and beat them 3-1. There was a lot of sick plays. I think Nevix played really well. Mikey A is actually proving to be a pretty good tracer player, even though he's not like Sinatra caliber or anything. There were also a few moments where I think both teams actually pulled a C9, which is, I believe, where you're in overtime, but everyone is not at the cart. So, like, you're around the cart, but you're not on it. So the time just runs out, and then you lose the round that way. So, a couple funny C9 plays being made.
Nice.
But it was a pretty good, solid victory, and it was pretty fun to watch. I'm not sure if you guys watched Overwatch like I did.
I was not able to catch the Overwatch game, sadly. But from what I've heard and from what you said, they seem to be playing a little bit better. Still worried about the team as a whole, especially with the recent Overwatch news that's been coming up.
Yeah. They're definitely able to kind of just crush the lesser teams, but they really struggle against the top teams. They got crushed by Misfits. They got crushed against Giganti, which is another big European Overwatch team. So, Cloud9 seems to kind of be a tier below that, which I guess isn't bad, but we'll definitely have to see how they do in the final week this weekend for Contenders, and if they make Contenders playoffs, how far they get in that. But it's we'll just have to see, kind of take it a step at a time. Frozen, did you watch Overwatch, or did you forget?
I didn't forget, but I got a new phone, so all my updates didn't come through, so I missed out on a couple things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just good to see this team turning it around, because there was a period of time where we were like, what are they doing? Are they going to pull this together? And even though it's not exactly the best team, we were still able to pull it through. And I'm excited to talk about what we're going to be talking about in just a minute.
Yeah, we actually have some Overwatchmen discussion. I actually wasn't going to put it in, but then there was some news that came out today, and I felt that we definitely need to talk about it. But before we get to that, let's talk about CSGO's performance at ESL New York. I think it was a very interesting tournament just because Cloud9 had some wins and they had some losses, and their losses looked really bad, and their wins looked like they kind of struggled through it. So I talked about this after they lost in the semifinals to FaZe with Arn. Shout out to Arn on Twitter, and we'll just kind of talking about how, as time goes on, this new roster excuse will lose more and more power, and then you have to kind of look at the team and go, okay, they're still having the same problems that they did before we got on Taric and Rush. They also have a lot of other problems that are really struggling to deal with. Eventually we might have to start taking out people to see if that can fix things. I certainly don't know who would be up next on the chopping block, so to speak, but something has to kind of get done if the old players aren't adapting to the new players, and the new players are struggling with the old players and everything. So it's a very interesting situation right now.
I disagree with actually a lot of what you said, but mostly just about the new roster fading thing. You have to understand in CSGO, like, these rosters do take months to develop, and like there has not been a lot of big tournaments yet. The fact that we got to semis also, and we lost to FaZe, FaZe was absolutely popping off this tournament. Like, I think in total they lost like 30 games the entire, like 30 rounds the entire tournament. So, in retrospect, I'll take that, considering we also 2-0'd Optic today in the Epicenter NA close qualifier. So we're just going to have to see what happens from there. I think this team's still developing, and I do think, yes, that may start to lose some merit, but where we're at right now, I think it still holds up.
Yeah. Also, I think something to add, the team is actually not getting a lot of time to practice. Like, they're having to do a tournament pretty much like every week to every other week, so they're not getting a lot of time to just kind of sit down, do like some scrims or whatever, and then just really look over like, okay, what are we missing, what do we need to work on, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of slowly build off of each other. Since they're having to kind of compete every week, I think it does kind of stunt the growth of the team.
Yes, it does a little bit, but more on-stage experience I don't think is necessarily bad. The only problem I see is if they get burned out with travel, that could be a problem.
Yeah, for sure. The loss was disheartening, but like you said, I did not expect FaZe to do as well as they did, but considering how well they played, they definitely deserve all the praise that they got. Because everyone on FaZe was just demolishing the competition over the weekend. But yeah, I guess Frozen was busy, so he didn't see the match.
No, I didn't see much of it, and plus I'm not much of a knowledgeable CSGO fan, so.
Well, I'm not either, but
I'm not gonna interject too much.
Hey, you know what? I watched and I gave my opinion. Also, we're really bad on some maps. We got.
Oh, for sure.
I think if anybody ever plays Nuke against us, we're a free win. But
Nuke is such a stupid map though, because it's so layered. Like, I don't know why any team would want to play that anyway.
It's pretty much what most teams almost always ban, but like if you get a minor team, they'll end up choosing it. I do think we definitely need to work on our overpass.
Yeah,
Uh,
our overpass definitely shaky there.
the two things I'll say is like overpass and train are the two things we would need to work on the most, but I might be wrong in that.
Uh, I think train's fine. I think it doesn't hurt to work on it since it is kind of Cloud9's best map. Uh, I would say more Mirage. I think we've been having trouble with Mirage more. So I think that
Well,
I think just work on everything. I think at this point.
yes, the reason I say work on train is because like if train is your best map and you're still consistently losing on your best map, there is a problem.
Okay, yeah, that's very true. Very true. Trey, do you have any final thoughts on CSGO stuff?
I'm still excited about this roster. I think they are running out of time, but we're gonna see some up and up.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I really like what Tariq and Rush bring to the table. I think Rush is a really clutch player, and he's just been showing that he's very consistently performing. And I think Tariq has some really good strategies, with the game. So I think that, we just gotta get everyone on the same page and everyone, gelling more and everything. And I hope that the team can really do that. So gotta be optimistic about the future. But
For sure.
Yeah. So moving on, let's talk about Overwatch, guys. Today, some big news came out. The Overwatch League will officially be starting in January, with a preseason exhibition tournament being held on December 6th, with the 12 inaugural teams competing in it. Now, one of the interesting things about this is that 3/4 of the teams for the first season are all in the US. The only teams that aren't in a US Overwatch League spot are Cloud9, Shanghai, and Seoul. That's it. Everyone else, everyone else is in America.
I just want to say I like how you said Cloud9 instead of London, and then you listed off the other places but not the other teams.
That's because the other places are owned by like individual people.
Yeah, no, I know. I just find it funny.
I don't know why. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's interesting just because that they're trying to build this up as a sort of global league and everything, but then most of your teams for your first season are all in America. So it's kind of a weird marketing thing, and it might be because other investors are still kind of worried or like shaky on the Overwatch League concept. So maybe that's why they aren't really selling European spots or Asian spots or Oceanic spots or whatever. But I think it's just really weird that like out of all the spots there, the majority of them is in America, and then you have like 3 others scattered around, kind of say like, oh no, it's a global league, when it doesn't really seem like it.
See, I am less so disappointed at, oh, it's a global league, even though most of our teams are in the US. My disappointment is that they put Envious in Dallas. Get out of my city.
Optic is in Houston, though.
Get out of my state.
Who would you rather have take a Texas spot?
Give me C9 and Immortals, both in Texas, baby.
Oh, that would actually be really sick. Yeah. Why did C9 get London and not Texas?
Dude, you had Dallas, you had Houston, you had Austin. There's so many places. You had San Antonio too.
Texas is so big. You could probably fit like 5 spots just in that one state for how big it is.
I mean,
there's a reason that we have 3 NBA teams in our state.
I mean, like, another question is, why are all of the NA teams in Texas and California instead of kind of spread out a little bit? Like, it's like, what, one is Boston, one is New York, and then all the rest are in Texas or California.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people who have been, who are fans of Overwatch and are kind of watching this league thing develop are questioning like, where's Chicago? Where is, where are some of these other like Midwestern, big Midwestern cities? Why don't they get a spot? Where's Atlanta? You know, where are some of these other regions kind of popping up and just kind of shrugging her shoulders?
Yeah, I think part of the problem is the asking price that they asked for to get into the league. I think raising 20 million is what is rumored to be of the price into the league is a little high for the other teams, which is why they couldn't get in all 14 teams that they had hoped for the first year. So maybe that price will drop in the future, or maybe more teams will be able to get into it. I mean, I'm hoping that there's a Detroit team. I doubt that that's going to be one of the first places they expand to, but it would be sweet.
I guarantee you there will be a Detroit team. Renegades will buy that spot.
Yeah, but it's going to be 4 years down like the line, though, because they're not like a huge org either. It's like,
yeah, but they have,
but like not.
They
big.
have the backing to. They have the sponsors and the backing to get it. I think a lot of what people are doing right now, and why a lot of these big Midwest cities aren't buying in yet, is they want to see this first season. They want to see how it's gonna go, because if you hold this thing and there's just zero traction, there's no reason to put 20 million to be the only team in the Midwest and nobody comes to your games or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say that a lot of it was probably gonna hinge on this first season and how how viewership does, how merchandise sells, how just social media buzz, carries about and everything. So, if you want to see Cloud9's Overwatch team, there's still a lot of question marks to be raised. We don't know what the roster is. Rosters don't lock until the end of October, so we still have like a month of just kind of sitting in limbo, not knowing what the Overwatch League roster is. We don't know what the team is going to be called. We don't know a lot of other stuff. So I'm really looking forward to December just to kind of see, what does the landscape look like? What is the team's going to be doing and all that? So I'm really excited about it. It's still kind of a ways off, but hopefully it does pan out for us.
Yeah, I believe the first game is supposed to be January 10th. I'm not exactly sure what day of the week that is, but it's all happening so quick. I still think December 6th is kind of far away, and I think that they had planned on doing it a little bit sooner, but they couldn't quite find all of the teams in time. I wonder what they've done about the asking price and everything since it's taken so long to find all these teams. Like, are they going to lower the buy-in cost, or are they going to just help teams try and fundraise to try and get a spot?
Yeah, and we may never know, since that's more of a backdoor kind of thing. But I'd really like to see some other big names like Fnatic and G2, other kind of European-based organizations get into this. Maybe like other NA teams like CLG. I'm not sure about TSM. TSM doesn't really have a lot of teams. They're very kind of League of Legends centric with a couple other smaller teams that kind of support them. But I'd like to see a lot of other kind of big name brands really get into this, because I think it'd be really cool if this got around kind of the same sizes and competitiveness as like League of Legends does.
TSM sold their Overwatch released their Overwatch squad. I don't think that they're going to be in for season 2 if season 1's a huge success. I think it's going to be a few months season. I think it was supposed to end in June or something. I wonder what they're gonna do between June and December again to keep up the hype. I mean, I still have a hard time believing that this is gonna be a hugely successful esport, but I'm trying to stay positive. But I'm hoping that come season 2 that there's a lot more teams buying in and we get it up to 20.
Yeah. The more teams, the better. I think we've stretched this out as long as we can.
Yeah.
As long as no one has any other thoughts, let's move on to talking about the world's play-in. So anyone unfamiliar or confused about the format, I just want to talk about that really quick. So it's a mix of wildcard regions and third seed teams from bigger regions, like NA or EU or China. So they have to compete in this sort of preliminary tournament to advance to the group stage. Round 1 consists of a best-of-1 double round robin. The top 2 teams of the group will move on to the second round, where first-seeded teams will play randomly selected second-seeded teams in a best-of-5, and the winner of those matches moves on to the group stage. In terms of notable teams, you have Cloud9, Fnatic, WE, who's from China. We saw them last year at Worlds. Gambit from CIS. Hong Kong Attitude from LMS. Team 1 from Brazil. Direwolves from OPL. Lion Gaming from LAN. Rampage from Japan, and a few other teams. So we have kind of a who's who of wildcard regions and sort of other big name regions that have a third seed going in. But that's not really need to be discussed. What we are going to be talking about is who is in our group and kind of what our expectations are. So in our group, which is Group B, we have Direwolves and Team 1. And Trey, since you have been watching a lot of League of Legends outside of North America, I'm going to ask you, what is your impression of our group?
My impression generally is that we had an alright group pool. We avoided pretty much the 2 biggest regions, which is Brazil and Turkey. So I would take it as a win. OPL has looked bad and has always looked bad for a while. The thing is, even though Team 1 is from Brazil, they aren't the teams that you expect.
They're
coming out of Brazil.
They're a young team.
They're like a brand new team.
Yeah. This was their first split. They were in Challengers, INTZ's sister team, and this is their first split. And this is now going to be their first taste of international competition with this very young and experienced roster. Sorry, I cut you off. That was...
No, you're all good. But there is a bit of a question mark there because you don't know how these players are going to perform on the world stage. And Brazil recently hasn't been looking that great. So I'm not sure what to really think of them. I think their playstyle is very... it's calculated aggression, but it's not... They don't bully other teams to win, but they can if they need to. So I expect C9 probably to not have a problem with them as long as they don't start playing into their game.
Yeah, I saw other people on the subreddit talk about kind of our chances at getting on the play-in stage, and at least for round 1, people are saying that, oh yeah, Cloud9 has a 90% chance to get out of the first round, and I think that's a pretty safe assessment. The 10% being the unpredictability of Direwolves and Team 1 and how Cloud9 reacts to that. Cloud9's been kind of inconsistent this split, and we kind of don't know what Cloud9 we're going to get. They're going on a new patch and unsure about the adaptability that Cloud9 can make to sort of new meta changes, especially when they're going to be playing first, essentially, and they don't have like a couple extra days to kind of see how other teams do stuff. But I think, at least for round one, I think Cloud9 shouldn't, at least on paper, experience any problems and should just breeze by the first round.
The thing is, you need top 2 out of 3 in round 1. So, theoretically, it shouldn't matter. I'm pretty sure we're going to get out of the round ones, like, almost certain, but the thing I would be worried about is, let's say we do get out as number 1, and we get placed against Fenerbahce or Gambit, then we need to start worrying, because CIS specifically has been looking really, really good. In fact, I think they may top their group. Their group is, I think it's WE, Gambit, and then Lion Gaming.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And then, I also expect Group D to be a big wild card. Haha, funny joke. But, I don't really think Hong Kong Attitude is that good. I do think Rampage is really good. And I do think, Fenerbahce is really good. So, I don't think any of those teams are single-handedly a number 1 or a number 3.
Yeah, I was going to mention the second round is going to be a big thing for Cloud9, and I think the key thing is trying to avoid playing teams like WE or Fnatic, since they are also in the play-ins. If WE and Fnatic and Cloud9 all get number 1 seeds, I think that's the best case scenario, because all of the big regions get, they get the first seed going into the second round. No one has to play each other. No one has to get sad. We just play a second seeded team and hopefully win, and then everyone shakes hands, pats each other on the back, and goes to the group stage, all smiles, and this was just a formality, basically.
Yeah, there was an interview where I believe Sneaky said, I don't think NA deserves this, but we're going to just have to see what happens. And honestly, I think this is worse for wildcard teams as a whole. But because there is the possibility that all the wildcard teams get stomped, and instead of having 2 wildcard teams at the World Championship, now we have 1. With the extra LMS seed taking their place. So, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Frozen, do you have any thoughts on the play-ins? Maybe your expectations for how the team plays this weekend?
Yeah, I think you guys covered most of it. I think going into the play-in stage, the main thing that we're going to have to do is try to avoid Team WE out of China. It seems that everyone who has knowledge of China is hyping them up as being the best Chinese team, despite despite being knocked out early in playoffs. So if we can avoid them, I like our chances going into the knockout stages and in the best of 5. And the good thing is that if we do avoid Team WE, that our group stages are gonna probably be a little bit better, just because we're gonna be hypothetically facing weaker Chinese teams than Team WE. Though I'm not too sure saying that EDG and RNG are gonna be much worse than Team WE, and that I think it would be a fun matchup to play them. But I think that the ideal scenario is to end up playing Hong Kong esports, or maybe one of the other lower tier wildcard teams. But I think that a lot of the second tier wildcard teams right now in the playing stage are actually really strong. So it's not going to be easy, but it is a fight that we should be able to win. But the one thing that worries me the most is how Cloud9 always tends to play to the level of their competition as opposed to their actual level and potential as a team.
And you have to understand that this is the first week of Worlds, so stuff's going to be wild. We aren't going to know what the meta really is. We have a good idea of it. We know that Arden Sensor is broken. We know that Ezreal Jungle is good. We know that Nidalee Jungle going support and rushing Arden Sensor is good. We don't know how well it's going to perform on stage, but we also don't know what secret picks teams have brewed up in scrims. And we're going to see that come out in these play-in stages. So because of that, I don't think that the first round is that important getting first. Just because I feel like there's going to be so much distinction from metas and who has to adapt to what, that it's going to really just depend on who scrimmed who.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up Ezreal Jungle and Arden. I'm actually really curious to see if we'll actually see Ezreal Jungle on stage. It seems like something that just kind of came out from Korean solo
China.
queue. Yeah, it just kind of came out. It's just like a thing you can kind of do in solo queue if you want to kind of carry and kind of throw the other team off a bit. I'm not sure how well it actually does in like a competitive, controlled setting. So if we do get to see some Ezreal Jungle, I'm really curious to see how it would do. I'm also really curious to see how teams kind of work around Arden. If we'll see more kind of support bans from like Janet and Lulu, or if teams put a real high priority on that and just go, okay, we're just gonna race to see who can get Arden first. Maybe even see some ADCs rush Relic Shield just to give their supports more gold so they can get it quicker, and stuff like that. So the meta is at a very interesting crossroads with that regard.
See, the funny thing about that is, I don't remember what game it was. There was a game in Korea, I'm not sure if it was playoffs or promotions, where...
Oh, with Lulu Jungle?
Not Lulu Jungle, the Twitch that started Relic Shield.
Oh, yeah, I know Freak was talking about it.
It's
I can't
been
remember
mildly
when it was.
common, and a lot of it has been, oh shit, who was the team that played Lulu Jungle?
I think that was a Freak of Freaks.
Yeah, Freak,
during their
I think.
gauntlet match.
Because they played Twitch Relic Shield too. They were kind of the ones who kind of played it every game. They played Twitch interest on a Relic Shield, and in two of the games they played Lulu Jungle also.
So that shows that it can be picked and teams see it as viable. The thing is, Ezreal Jungle was already picked by a team that's at Worlds. WE pulled out this pick in the regional qualifier versus Invictus. So I do think the Ezreal Jungle is going to come out. I don't think we're probably going to see Relic Shields on ADCs because it just sets your bot lane so far behind. It's just going to be... We don't know. It's really difficult to assume how the meta is going to play out. It almost reminds me of Season 5, except there are no Juggernauts.
There's no broken-ass Mordekaiser running around.
Balls is not at Worlds to get a pentakill.
Oh, that moment was great. Thanks for reminding me of that. That moment was so... I think I jumped up and down.
They canceled the second week. I don't know what happened.
It's all a blur. No one can know.
I think the one thing I'm gonna be watching out for is Kog'Maw, and how teams pick and ban around Kog'Maw, and I think something that we might be seeing, I'm not gonna say that we're gonna see it, but we might see it, is Kog'Maw and Soraka. The Chinese teams have put a lot of faith into a Kog'Maw pick, and I think that is something that they have been playing pretty good around, but no other teams around the world have actually been picking. And I think that is something that is definitely viable and has a lot of chances to succeed in a meta that is not known for dive comps. And it's more of a tank meta where a Kog'Maw can kind of sit back and get peeled for.
While I agree with you, I don't think it would be Soraka. In a situation like that, if they had their perfect world, it would be a Lulu or a Janna. Because, first off, Lulu also gives bonus attack speed, so she ends up getting like 80% bonus attack speed, plus the on-hit damage. So that would scale perfectly with Kog'Maw. Janna's shield damage also scales really well with Kog'Maw, plus Ardent Sensor. That's a huge buff. So I don't really think... The problem is Soraka is so difficult to play around right now, and if you take an Ignite or if you get an early Executioners, you can really destroy her laning phase. And if you destroy Soraka early, she can't really do much.
I mean, you can say that about a lot of people, and I do think that she's not totally like tier or S tier or maybe even A tier, but I think that Kog'Maw Soraka lane is really potent into a Janna lane. So if someone early picks a Janna, I think that a Soraka Kog'Maw lane could lane well into that, and I think that it could do a decent job scaling. Though I do think a Lulu would be a little bit better. I do think that Soraka Kog'Maw lane is still pretty potent, in my experience at least.
I can agree with that.
Well, I guess we will just have to see this weekend. And speaking of, it's gonna kind of suck for us guys, because since it is being played in China and we're in America, the time zone situation is not so good. Day 1, Cloud9 plays on September 23rd at 2:30 a.m. Eastern against Team 1, and then 4:30 a.m. Eastern against Direwolves. And it gets even worse in Day 2, as they play 1 a.m. Eastern against Team 1 and 3 a.m. Eastern against Direwolves. So
I'm happy with these times. I'm completely okay with these times.
As someone who goes to bed at like 10:30 every day, I hate these times, because I'm gonna have to watch the rebroadcast like a scrub.
No, just don't sleep.
But
There's
I
your
need my
solution.
beauty sleep.
I start
You're beautiful anyways. Just it doesn't matter.
I start on my new job on that Monday, so I'm not going to be watching much, which sucks. And it's going to be pretty much the same with Worlds also.
So, for reference, the times are, so for Americans, they would play on Saturday at 2 in the morning, or would they play at Sunday on 2 in the morning and Monday at 1?
Saturday at 2 in the morning.
So practically Friday night.
Yeah.
That's a big part, and I just wanted to get that point across and make sure everybody understood that.
Oh,
Because,
that makes a big difference.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, because I'm going to be coming home from the Michigan State Notre Dame game around 1, and that's Saturday night and Sunday morning at 1 a.m., so I might be able to watch the Team 1 game.
Exactly. See,
That's a big difference.
getting that clarification also means that people who usually stay up during the weekend still don't lose. He doesn't lose, or how do I say this? Excuse me. You won't lose out on like your schedule if you're used to staying up that late on weekends. And you can still go to bed early on Sunday if you happen to not have work that on the weekend.
Yeah. So anyone who is a night owl, this is your lucky tournament, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just unideal. it's kind of like when season 5, when Worlds was mostly played at like 3 and 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wish they could figure something out a little bit better schedule-wise, but that's how it is. The same thing happens with like the World Cup and stuff. Like they start games at like noon around the world, but like that's such a shitty time for like half the world. So it sucks, but we'll make it work, and there will be tons of rebroadcasts too.
Yeah, at least you get those sweet rebroadcasts in. All right, let's move on to our final topic. Frozen actually wrote something down in the extra discussion thing that I think we should maybe talk about for a bit. Frozen, do you want to actually introduce this?
Yeah, so Bjergsen Jap, Papa Smithy, and Deficio came out with a top 10 or a top 20 players in the world list, and Bjergsen was actually named in the top 10 at actually the 10th place. And Kelsey Mosner came out with her best mid laners place through ESPN, and she named Bjergsen as the second best mid laner. But Jensen was tied for 5th on the on the top 5 mid laners at Worlds, and Jensen was not even on the top 20 list for Jab, Papa Smithy, and Deficio. Do you guys think that that's kind of a slight at Jensen, considering he actually got more MVP votes and first place votes in the first team all NA-LCS as opposed to Bjergsen? Or do you guys think that Bjergsen has shown the world that he is that much better than Jensen, despite Jensen overperforming in this season as opposed to playoffs?
Can I go first, or do you want to go first?
No, you can go.
Okay. I think the latter. I think I watched that video that they posted, kind of explaining their their reasoning behind why they put players where they put them. And one of the big key points was they were talking about consistency and garnered success from that. And when you look at Jensen and sort of Cloud9 as a whole, they kind of struggle with consistency. At least this split, which is kind of how you have to kind of judge players on to make this ranking. Cloud9 was really struggling this split. They would have really, nice up moments, but then they'd have some down moments where they'd slump. And then they'd have some up moments again, and then they'd slump again. While you look at TSM, they were pretty much constant all the way through, and especially Bjergsen, who was doing the majority of the work for TSM. So I think that, considering the fact that he has won so many NA-LCS titles, and he has just won another one, is also a big reason why he was put in. Jensen wasn't. Cloud9 floundered in quarterfinals. And it was very uncharacteristic. I hate bringing it up constantly, but it's something that's in recent memory, and you kind of have to look at that and go, you're Cloud9, you're Jensen. Why did you guys struggle so much in this match that you should have won? So it, just kind of taking in all that into account, I think I can totally see why Jensen didn't make the top 20 or get like an honorable mention. Considering that and all the other competition he'd have to face from the other teams from around the world.
My opinion of this is very short and simple. When you're looking at top 20 players in the world, at Worlds, at least, first off, you have to think about team rankings, and in Cloud9 right now is not ranked high. In recent memory, they won 3-1 in the Gauntlet, where they didn't look that great. They lost to Dig, who then internally blew up after the fact. They had a an okay season full of ups and downs. The inconsistencies and the lack of confidence in them is what I think caused the not necessarily Jensen to be underrated, but Jensen to be more criticized. I don't think Bjergsen gets criticized enough. But to be honest, I'm very surprised that Bjergsen made top 10. I'm not surprised Jensen's not in the top 20.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think saying Bjergsen is top 10 in the world or at Worlds right now is kind of a stretch considering TSM hasn't performed on the world stage at all in the past couple years. And I think
it also is based off their group. People are starting to hype them up because of their group.
Yeah, and there's also the leaking that they quote-unquote destroyed Team WE in scrims, which means absolutely nothing at all. But I want to say that Jensen is being underrated because there were some people named as being at the end of the list, honorable mention, and Jensen was not one of them. And I think that if we're talking about purely the playing perspective of the game, I think that we can agree that Jensen might be better than Bjergsen. But when it comes to the whole collective aspects of the game, like mental shot calling and mechanics and actually playing the game, that Bjergsen might have a nod over Jensen. And I think it's weird to see Bjergsen rated so high and Jensen just kind of ignored in that aspect.
Well, I think that if he is underrated, we will see it come out. And if he's rated properly, we'll see that. If he's overrated, if what you're saying happens to be wrong, we're going to see that. This doesn't mean anything, and I think you should take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I agree with Trey. This is all ranking players before Worlds even starts.
We have no idea who's getting the Dade award this year.
Yeah. So, we have to just kind of wait and see. I think the great thing about Worlds is, they release these power rankings or whatever, but, this is the time where the teams put the money where their mouth is. And, are you a top 4 team in the world? Let's see you. Let's see you do this thing. And if you don't, then everyone kind of laughs at you because, everyone put you up at this place and then you fall short of it. So, you have to actually do it now.
I mean,
do we want to... Sorry.
The one thing I thought that was kind of weird was they said that Jensen doesn't really handle the pressure well. But when it comes down to it, Jensen came out of the group stages last year and Bjergsen didn't, which I just thought was kind of funny.
That has nothing to do with pressure, though.
I think it does to a certain extent.
They both had similar records. I don't think that has the validity to say when Jensen has had moments in the past where he was the difference in a team fight and he was the difference for the worse, not for the better. So I can understand that narrative.
I mean, I think that narrative solely comes from that one team fight against TSM where he got blown up as Echo, and I don't think that it comes from any other point in time. I think it's solely from that one team fight where he maybe didn't get to Zonia's in time or Ultimate in time.
Okay, but that's still a valid point.
I think there's some of validity to it, but I don't think that saying he chokes under pressure is a fair analysis of the situation or a fair analysis of all of the evidence that we've seen. In that I don't think besides that there's ever really been a time where we've been like, God damn it, Jensen, like you should have done more. Like, it's always been like, God damn it, Sneaky, God damn it, Contracts, God damn it, Impact, or something like that. And I don't think that, besides then, that there's really never been a time that I can think of where we've been like, damn, Jensen, like, maybe if you were on like a flat keyboard as opposed to a mechanical keyboard, like, you would have gotten there sooner. Like, I think that saying that he crumbles under pressure is a bit of hyperbole based on the evidence that we've seen coming out of this team, and that I think that TSM's supporting cast to Bjergsen is stronger than Cloud9's supporting cast to Jensen also. But I also think that Bjergsen does have a different role inside the team, which does make it a little bit different.
Well, we're just going to have to see.
Yes. Make sure to, catch the matches if you can, or at the very least catch the rebroadcast stream. I might try and live tweet the rebroadcast if anyone wants to pay attention to my thoughts as I'm watching them. I may sneak a peek at the results before, just because I always like to know what happens. But yeah, this weekend should be pretty fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Alright, so for predictions, I want you guys to just give me a yes or no on if Cloud9 will make it out of groups. I'll start with Frozen.
You mean make it 2-group stage?
Yes, make it 2-group stage. I'm sorry. Yes. That.
Frozen?
I think there is an 80% chance that we make it to groups. Maybe 90. I think it comes down to if we end up drawing Team WE in the second round, and that if they are actually the good team that they are, that we shouldn't be drawing them just because hopefully both of us will be 1 seed. So I'm going to put us at 80 to 90% chance of us making it to group stages.
I think we go 3-1 in our group. Probably lose once to Brazil, and they'll probably lose once to Oceania. And I think we'll probably get placed against... we'll probably get placed against either Gambit, Rampage, Fenerbahce, or... other than that, I'm really not sure. So, I still think we make it pretty much guaranteed 2 groups. I have the confidence in us.
Yeah, same here. I think when you look at least for round 1, I think, just comparing the teams, we're on a higher level. Round 2 could get a little iffy, but I think that we are an experienced team who is, had players go to Worlds before. This, the only one who is new with this is probably Contracts, I guess. But I think he has a really good support system in place. I think the team in general does. I think they should be able to get to group stage. If they don't, that's gonna really suck. So, yeah. Does anyone have any big moment of the week? Anything that they saw or anything?
My only moment, I guess, would be seeing Sneaky, Jensen, and Rush get back together in Korean solo queue.
That's also my moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good moment.
I miss Rush and his
Mine is
shenanigans.
My moment is actually something that happened today, and it's the slow crumbling of the Immortals CSGO roster. For those of you that aren't aware, one of their players, they got suspended because they were like drinking or something, and so they ended up being late to a game. So Noah Winston was like, "Okay, you're suspended. You can't play for the next game." But then they played.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Do you have a better understanding of it? I know some of the details.
So he got suspended not for that necessarily. He was talked to about that. He actually got suspended, eventually kicked off the team, because he made a death threat towards another player.
Oh, okay, yeah, that that is kind of serious.
And
It's even better.
so he was supposed to be on like pretty much leave and not supposed to be playing, and then he played in a qualifier, I think yesterday, and then Noah was like, "Yeah, you're kicked off the team," and immediately two of his teammates were like, "Yeah, I'm leaving."
Yeah.
So
so
it
Immortals now only
looks
has,
like
2 people.
Immortals, which means that they're gonna lose their major spot.
I mean, from the perspective of Cloud9, this is pretty fortuitous for us because I think the team has always kind of struggled against Immortals, and now we kind of don't have to worry about them at least for a little while. So,
I don't know about because there's a very high likelihood that these players get back together and form their own team. Maybe not Steel and Bolts, but I think pretty sure it's going to be them plus KNG, right? Because KNG wasn't on the team. It was either KNG or FNS. My brain's getting messed up right now.
It's all right. I just found it funny that so much turmoil went on. I found that incredibly hilarious. But yeah. So I think that's all for today. Thanks everyone for listening to the 54th episode of Bodied the Cloud9 Fancast. Feel free to tweet questions and feedback to @C9Bodied or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. We'll answer questions on the next show, or we'll get back to you through Twitter. It's all a good time, so make sure to just reach out to us. It's always good. Also, thanks to Ian for being our super cool audio dude and editing stuff. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.